This seminar is a prelude to 8 other seminars, and it's all about your life, my life, what's next, right? Because we're always in our day and always worrying about our day and moving through our day. And the reality is we all want something bigger from ourselves and bigger in our lives, and we don't always get it without actually thinking about how we can do it. And this series of seminars are really about life goals and how do you understand yourself and how do you work yourself and grow yourself in the best way possible. So I'm going to get started now, and I hope you kind of enjoy this with me. I am very, I love this stuff. This stuff is really gets me going, and I really like interacting with it and teaching people about it and working people with it, okay? My real life situation, let me get into this here. So what are we about to discover here, so you know? You're about to discover here how to create options in your life, how to get things going in your life and create options in your life and go forward with that. You're about to discover the true definition of luck. You've heard of luck a lot of times, and people think of luck maybe as Mr. McScrooge, or no, the other guy, right? Luck, the other guy with Donald Duck, I can't remember his name, right? The guy's always finding gold in different places. And, but we're going to find out what the true definition of luck is. We're also going to know how to pave your road to your destination, because wherever you want to go, you need to put that road in front of you so you can actually go there. And that's not something that's always very easily done. So maybe you can learn what we're going to be doing with this. And you're going to know a little bit more about your flow and your path to wealth, because not everybody's path to wealth is the same. And I don't mean wealth here necessarily lots of money on cash coming out of your pockets. I'm talking here about wealth in terms of whatever you have after the money is gone, okay? But there's a way to get there, and it's different for everybody, and we'll look at a few things related to that. And this is also a lot of fun. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Can I be your coach for the next 60 minutes or 90 minutes or so? May I? Please? Okay. So the reason I say coach is because recently my career has changed, and I'm now doing something called action coaching. And action coaching is actually business coaching. And when I started doing the business coaching, I did it because I found in myself a propensity to really like helping people, like working with people and doing a lot of things with people. And action coach helped me put myself into that form. And it's a good tool for me because I actually help businesses do better. I actually help businesses make more money and have a lot more in terms of they keep more money and they get more business and get more customers and so on. And in the process of doing this, what I found is it's not really about the numbers and the math that you go through and anything like this, but it's all about the stuff that's inside here, right? In most cases, the business owner needs help, not with the money, but it's really with sitting down and getting things done. It's really understanding who they are because they keep struggling against themselves. It's understanding how to work with their employees. So there's a lot of stuff that I discovered that way, that it's really all about the head. And so that's why I put this series of seminars together, because I thought this would be beneficial for people in general. If you get good at this, then you can get good at other things in your life. So that's why this has come together, and this is what I'm doing with you here in this. So, do you want to know what the habits of success are? Yes? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you want to know how to set unbreakable goals?
Yes.
Right? You need to set the goals so that they're alive for you and really resonate with you. This is what we're talking about, right? Do you want to understand others effortlessly?
Yes.
I look around and, you know, my friend, I keep talking to him about something and he just doesn't, he glazes over. He doesn't understand what I'm saying, right? Why? Let's try to understand each other, okay? And would you like to build momentum in your life?
Yes.
Which way do you want the momentum to go? Forward, right? That's what we'll talk about. Talk a little bit about that also. So hopefully this is going to be a lot of fun here. So you're about to discover other things here. You're about to find out who you really are, or the tools to get you to who you really are. You're about to discover what it takes to set goals that you can truly achieve. How do you set those goals and how do you get them going? How many goals you should you have, you know? And the formula that determines the rest of your life. Actually, there are a lot of formulas. I work with a lot of formulas. And I found when I work with formulas, I can help people understand who they are a little bit better, and I understand myself a lot better too. But one of the things is the formulas, and I'm going to show you a couple of formulas here. that may be interesting for you. Okay, so I want you to get up and do something we call the clenched hand exercise. So you need to pair up, and maybe it's sisters together or brothers together. And the exercise is as follows, right? Take your hands and put them like this, all right? So now one of you is the A partner, one is your B partner. So the A partner, put your hands like this, right? Put the hands like this, and pull them through like that, okay? All right, now the B partner, point to the other person's fingers, any finger, and ask him to move or her to move that finger. Don't touch the finger, just point to it. Just point to it. Okay, and keep trying it out. Another one. Try another one. Try another one. Okay. All right, all right. Okay, switch partners. Try it again. Switch partners. Interesting, isn't it? So what's happening here? Okay, have a seat. So what's happening here? What's going on? Why is it so hard to do this? Aren't they your fingers?
Yes.
Or are they somebody else's fingers? Why is it so hard to do this? We're going to cover a lot of things related to the brain. And what you're going to find out is the brain has a way of patterns of putting itself things together. And when you cross over, what's happening here is your right side of the brain controls the left side of your body. Your left side brain controls the right side of your body. So what's happening here is as you cross it over, your eyes are looking at your hands in an unnatural way. And so you're trying to figure out which ones to move, because normally you look at them and move them right away because you know where they are. It's automatic. It's so automatic, you just don't pay attention to it. But when you mix yourself up like this, you start seeing the differences, what happens with you. That's why we want to get into the brain ideas, because the brain, and understand the brain, because what we do is a lot of things in our lives we do on automatic, constantly on automatic. And this helps us to kind of step back a little bit and to reprogram ourselves and find better automatic things to do than the old automatic ones, all right? But this example is a very helpful one. I mean, we know this example from when we were little kids, right? We played it a lot of times. But it really still illustrates the fact. But it doesn't matter how old you are, you still keep doing that. But if you walk around like this all the time, you'll have no problem doing it. But when you put your hands out, you will not be able to do it anymore. So I want to keep your hands out this way, okay? All right. So let's start talking here a little bit about our identity, who we are, and try to get an understanding of this. So we have something here called the identity iceberg. And the identity iceberg, if you know anything about iceberg, if you know anything about ice, when the water freezes, it floats in ice. And what happens is the majority of the ice is below the surface of the water. Only a little bit of the ice is above the surface as we see. And the parts that's above the surface is what people see from us as our actions, our behaviors, and our decisions that we make every single day. And these things are happening to us, and people are seeing those all the time. And if a person doesn't know you or doesn't understand you a little bit, they will look at you and say, why are you behaving this way? I saw a stimulus, I saw something happen, and I would not have done that. Why are you doing that? Right? And they don't understand your decisions, they don't understand your behavior. But what they don't understand is that the underlying things to all your actions, decisions, and behavior, the first thing is a set of, this is the results that we see, and the first thing that really depends on us is a set of skills. And the skills are what you develop in your life, day to day, the things that you learn how to do. Things like, right, like how to write, how to run, how to walk, all these things are automatic for you as skills now. But as you get into business, as you become an adult, you start learning other skills in your life, and you keep accumulating skills in your life. So if you know how to, let's say, kick a football through the upright, right? That's a skill you have, you'll be able to do it. But bring somebody who doesn't have that skill, they're not going to be able to do it. But they can develop the skill. So skills are the first thing on the top level that give us, that influence our actions and behavior. The next thing that influences us is our beliefs. Our beliefs are just a little bit below our skills. And if I believe I can do something, if I believe I cannot do something, it's true. Either way, it's true. So your belief is what you think of yourself, what you allow yourself to do. If you allow yourself to do something, and have a strong feeling that you can do it, you'll be able to do it. And if you say, I believe I can ski, and you've never skied before, you will attempt to ski, you will push yourself until you learn how to do it because you feel, I have this belief I can do it. But if you constantly say, I'm not athletic, I'm not athletic, I'm not athletic, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, you never will. Belief is very, very important. Underlying the belief is your values. And your values are, there's usually about 6 or 7 values that we live with, right? One of them is altruism, one of them is aestheticism, one of them is economy, one of them is individualism, one of them is theory, one of them is political, and there's one last one I don't remember right now. But these are sets of beliefs that we have, and we'll cover them shortly. There's sets of beliefs that we, sets of values that we have, and these values drive a lot of our decisions that go day to day. Okay, so you may have a value of, let's say, wanting your son or your daughter to become really strong, right, or really a tough person so they can face anything in their lives. So that reminds me of a story of A Boy Named Sue. Does anybody know that song, A Boy Named Sue? It's an old song. It's a Johnny Cash song in the 70s. It's a really funny song. So this man names his son Sue, right? And then his father disappears. And so this boy grows up being really having to deal with a name called, a girl's name. And so he's constantly fighting all the girls and the boys, making fun of him and so on. It became really, really tough. Finally, in his adulthood, he meets his father. He starts fighting with him and bashing him and getting angry with him and saying, why did you name me Sue? Why did you name me Sue? So finally, when they finish fighting and they're both broken down and they both can hardly breathe, the father looked at his son and says, son, I named you Sue because I knew you had to get tough or die. And I want you to get tough. So that guy had a value of wanting his son to be tough, but he went about it a very bad way, right? He could have done it a different way. He could have helped his son be tough by showing him other ways to do it. But that value and how you present those values to the people outside is something that affects your beliefs and affects your skills and therefore affects the decisions that you make and so on. Underneath all of this is your identity, who you really are, under the heart of you, the base part of you, who you really are. And that identity is something that we need to grow and adjust and play with all the time. And you can actually change your identity, but you need to work at that change, okay? And we will talk a little bit about identity in a second. Underlying all of this is the environment that we're in, right? What environment are we sitting in and what environment do we deal with? That environment that we deal with can be very positive for us or very negative for us. So it's a very, very rare and powerful person that has an identity, a good identity, that can withstand a very bad influence, a very bad environment, right? So what we also know is that part of setting our goals and part of getting ourselves moving forward is the idea that our environment affects us. The people around us affect us. The people around that influence us affect us greatly. And we have to understand how that happens and to kind of limit the interaction with those who are negative in our lives. Sometimes they are family members, sometimes they're close friends, so we have to kind of be careful how we do that. But it's part of the influence that we have. So we have to be careful with this, right? So this is what we call the identity iceberg, and it's a really good paradigm for us to kind of think through, and it's a good kind of metaphor for us to understand who we are. And I really like playing, I come back to this constantly in my coaching, and it's a really valuable tool to work with. Okay? So I promised you the formula for success in your life, and this is part of your identity. Watch carefully. Okay? There's a formula. You want to have, right? If I tell you about your goals, ask you about your goals, what are the first things people normally say? Give me a goal. What do you want?
Happiness.
Happiness. Okay, what else?
Money.
Money.
Is a common.
Money. What else do you want?
Peace.
Peace. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Most people will say, I want a big house, I want money, I want nice cars, I want to travel, I want X, Y, and Z. And it's all the issue of having things, and having things. And having things actually are a result. They are not they're a result of other things. And they're a result of this. Be and do. Before you have anything, you have to actually do something to have it, right? So if you want to have a car, you have to earn the money and go to this dealership and actually put down your money and buy the car, right? Clear, no problem. But if you want to, let's say you want to have the experience of skydiving, right? You think it's fun. So what the do is what? Is going out to the airport, getting the lessons that you need to get, learning how to put on a parachute, how to take off the parachute, learning they'll rattle your cage very much until you can handle the panic, right? And then there's a lot of things you can do. You have to pay the money, pay the fees, pay the airtime, all of that. These are things you have to do. But if you are not a skydiver, if you are really scared of skydiving, if you have really this gut-wrenching fear inside you that there's no way I'm going to skydive, it doesn't make a difference. You'll do all that other stuff, but you will never jump. You are not a skydiver, right? Another good example here is if today, let's say today we want to have, let's say I want brand new equipment. My computer just died today. I want brand new equipment and I want to really fire my business up and I want $100,000. So I'm going to come to you guys and say, I want $100,000. Can you help me? I want to have $100,000. So we'll talk about how can we get $100,000 by tomorrow? How can we get it?
Wealthy family.
That's a good idea. What else? What else? Something outrageous. What can we do? Anything outrageous?
Rob the bank.
Rob a bank. Rob a bank. Okay? So the do will be robbing the bank. The be, will you rob a bank? Will you rob a bank? Would you? Would you rob a bank? No way. This is not your be. There's no way you're going to be that. Therefore, you cannot do that. So you'll have to find a different way. Maybe find a wealthy relative, maybe go fundraise or something like that. That we can do, right? So the question comes to us now, is that when we talk about this identity, is who are we? What is my be? Right? And my be is much more important than my do, and of course, way, way more important than my have. Because it's my be times my do that will give me what I have. Therefore, I have to change who I am. I have to work on who I am. And if I want to, let's say, be wealthy, okay, if I want to have, let's say, enough wealth, let's say I really like the idea of being a philanthropist, and I want to really spend a lot of money. I see a lot of difficulties in the world. I see a lot of orphans. I see a lot of people who are in need. And I really want to do here something in Santa Clara. I want to come in. I want to establish, let's say, a good, large soup kitchen and an area where I can bring in youth so I can teach them business so they can get off the streets and actually do something beneficial with themselves, right? So that's a lot of stuff you want to do. And there's a lot of stuff to do to have this kind of a dream. But it also means your be has to grow. Your be has to pump up a little bit because I need to earn this money. Therefore, I cannot earn the money the normal way I do. I can't trade my time for dollars like I normally have been. I need to talk to a wealthy person and see what they do to actually attract this money, to keep this money, right? So I need to change who I am. I need to change the be. So this formula is very, very, very strong. When you find yourself stuck against something, question who you are. Are you good enough for it? In other words, can I change myself? Can I actually spend the time to change myself and make something out of myself that I'm not? And how well and how strong can I make this be? Okay? So part of the coaching and part of the stuff that we're talking about here is how do I change my be and how do I become better than what I am or bigger than what I am so I can actually achieve what I need to achieve. Okay. So when we start talking about this, we have to actually talk about ourselves as a person and what kind of a person are we. So I'm going to throw a lot of stuff here at you now that's going to be a lot of brain stuff and a lot of fun stuff to talk about, right? So when we look at behaviors of people, we have if you look at this as a square, not an 8-sided figure, but look, this is a square. And at the top and the bottom here, we have being guarded and versus being open. If you're an open person or a guarded person, that you keep things guarded. And on the right side, you're direct. On the left side, you're indirect. So if you look at a chart like this will guide you through behaviors, the most common behaviors people have. And the first one here is a guarded direct. It's called a D. That person is very, very assertive and is a task-oriented person, does not care about people's feelings, wants to get things done like that. Don't, just don't give me time. I want things done immediately. And this is usually like a good project manager, a strong project manager. That's the kind of person that goes, that's the behavior of that person, right? The other person here is the C person, who's guarded and indirect. This person likes a lot of tasks, likes to work with very tasks. He's a very, very analytical person, or she's a very analytical person. And because they're analytical, they like the details of everything. They focus on the details, they don't focus on the people. And they're very guarded, so they don't talk too much. Give them something to put together, they will start putting it together in a very good way. They're good mathematicians, they're good accountants. They're the people behind the scenes. They're good programmers. They're people behind the scenes that actually put things together very well, get the detail, and like the detail a lot. We come down here to the S side. This person is indirect, but very open. And open here means that they like to talk to people, they like to deal with people, and they're open in their feelings, and they're open in a lot of things they do, but they're slightly indirect in the sense that they observe, and they don't quite share so easily. It takes a lot to get them to share. And that person who's an S is more of a people person that can help people and work with people, but is more deals with feelings, likes to deal with people's feelings. And then we get to the I personality on the bottom right here. This person is very persuasive. This person is the life of the party. This person is outgoing and open and loves to touch people and flit over people very quickly. So they're the life of the party. They come in, they talk to everybody, they casually touch everybody, right? And how they deal with them, but they don't really necessarily go very deep with them. So they are good salespeople. They're good, they're good PR people to bring people, things together very quickly. So these are the different kinds of behaviors we have as a big picture. And once we start analyzing this and understanding which dominant one of these we have, then we can start to understand our own behavior, and therefore we can understand why when people, if I'm a D personality, why I don't get along with S's, right? There's certain people I will not get along with because they are touchy-feely, those S's, and the D's are, don't talk to me about your feelings, just give me the result, I want the result. And the same thing with the C and the I. They just really cannot get along at all. The C wants, you just give me data, facts, and let me analyze them. And the I says, no. Let's just take people out for a party. Let's kind of deal with people together and everything. And the C feels very uncomfortable in the I environment, and the I feels very bored in the C environment. It just nothing happens there, right? So we need to understand this, because if you understand this, then you can start looking at people and understanding where they are. This has nothing to do with if they're a good person or a bad person, or they have good values or bad values. All this says is, that's how they behave. So if I understand how they behave, then I can deal with them at their level. So if I'm an S and I have to deal with a D, I have to become a little bit shorter in my sentences. I should not be so effusive in my words. I should cut down my sentences and come to the point very quickly. If I'm a D talking to an S, I have to approach the S by saying, how's your family? How are you doing? What's going on with you today? You look good today, right? And then I tell them what I need to tell them. So once you understand those different kinds of behaviors, you can start doing something with those behaviors, right? But there's also motivations, and motivations are the values. And first value that we talked about, that we mentioned before, was the aesthetic value. If you have a value of, if you have a high value for a high regard for aestheticism, you like form, you like harmony, beauty, and balance in things. So you're always looking at this, and this becomes a point of driving for you, right? Another one is economic. Do you like the practical aspects of life? Do you like the practical results? Do you want to look at the return on investment that you get or not? It's a really important thing that you see with economic. And some people are very high on the value, economic value, very low on the aesthetic value. Another value you have is individualism, right? How strong you are, how independent are you, and how unique are you? And some people love their individualism so much they don't want to be like anybody else. So if you start telling them, the most popular store today is the Gap, or or Banana Republic or something, where I get my pants by the way. Banana Republic is, and they tell you, no, I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be different. I don't want to buy what everybody else buys. So they will find something out of the way to buy because they want to be individual, right? So that is another motivation. Political. Do you like control, power, and influence or not? And if a person has that as a value, then that becomes a very strong driver for the person and makes a difference for them, right? Another one is altruism. Are you of service to others? Do you like to help others? Do you like to be in front of others, to give them and constantly help them and be with them, right? Do you like regulations? This is the one I always forget. Guess what? That's not my strong suit, right? Do you like structure, order, and routine and everything, right? And do you want to obey this in all times? You want to be everything, has to have its own place and its own time and its own thing, right? And the last one is theoretical. Do you want to have knowledge and understanding? Is that the most important value for you? So as you can see, these are 7 key values that drive people. These are what motivates people. This is the underlying motivations. So even if you go back to the previous slide, and if you have a difference in the sense of behavior, but you have common values, you will respect the difference in behavior because you have the common values. So many people, you'll see that they share certain values and they work together very well because they have these values, even though their behaviors are so maybe completely diametrically opposite from each other. Okay? So this is another aspect that we want to test for. We want to test and know from each other what are you and how are you and how you work with these things. Okay? By the way, as I told you guys, take color pens, use color pens, don't write down the page, scribble on the page, draw on the page, and enjoy yourselves, okay? So do some more with this. Here. The reason I'm telling you to actually use color pens and to not just draw linearly down the page is I'm trying to stimulate your mind. I'm trying to get you to think differently, okay? The most common thing people do when they take notes is always linear notes, down the page, down the page. Draw a circle in the middle of the page, start there, and then branch out. It gives you a much different picture of the environment when you see things, okay? But it's just some thoughts, because it really helps you kind of develop your thoughts and ideas a little bit better, okay? Nothing in life is like this. Nothing in life is linear. Everything in life is all over the place, right? So learn to embrace that, because it makes a big difference. Let's talk about learning styles. Now this is another thing that's very, very interesting. So I'm coming here to talk to you, and you are interested enough to learn. But each one of you has a different learning style. And that learning style actually has 4 components to it. So we start looking at them here and understand what they are. So we have people who are cerebral, right, up front here, thinking with their top of their brain all the time. And there are people who are limbic, and limbic is the back part of the head here. That is a lot more intuitive, a lot more inside. Things happen kind of, they pop in your head. You don't kind of think them through. And then we have people who are very verbal and people who are nonverbal. And what we see is that we have the people who are cerebral and verbal are very analytical, and the people who are cerebral and nonverbal are very intuitive, right? And then the nonverbal and limbic are kinesthetic, and we'll talk about what that means, and limbic and verbal are detailed. And so this makes a difference in how you see and how you learn and how you feel comfortable with your learning process, right? As you are more analytical, you want ordered facts, you want to reflect on everything, you want to think things through in a very logical way. Whereas if you're detailed, you want to test your theories all the time. You want to practice things. You want sequential facts and get all the details in front of you before you do anything, right? If you are intuitive, you like self-discovery, right? You don't want people to tell you things. You want to say, this is a situation, you say, let me jump in the situation and discover for myself. Let me kind of dive in there and see what happens, right? You like to look for hidden possibilities. You like to experiment to learn. Whereas if you're down here, kinesthetic means feeling, right? You like to feel things. And kinesthetic, you like to listen and share ideas. You like to experience learning. You want to experience things and feel them and have a sense for them as you go forward. So this shows you that even the learning styles for people are different. They're not all the same, right? So you have to also understand that when you're teaching somebody, when you're working with somebody, what learning style do they have? Which one do they gravitate towards? How do I put the information for them in a way that they can absorb it comfortably? Okay? And there's more to this learning styles, by the way. You can divide the learning styles into the beginning of the paying attention first. How do you focus on getting the attention? If there's a little noise, does it distract you or not, right? Then the next thing would be, after paying attention, the next thing would be, how do you like to learn? Do you want the teacher to be involved constantly, teaching you and feeding you? Or do you want to say, just give me the information, I'll learn on my own? Or do you like a classroom environment where you interact with a lot of other people to learn? The third thing would be, how do I represent it in my head? Do I represent it visually? Do I want everything in front of me visually? Do I want it auditorily? Do I hear everything? Or do I feel everything? By the way, I'll teach you something very interesting. To identify if a person is visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. If a person is visual, you ask them a question and they have to think about it. Where do their eyes go? Their eyes go up. To the left or to the right, okay? To one side, they are seeing something that happened already in their mind. To the other side, they are theorizing something, they're putting something together. If you're auditory, where do you look? You look side to side when people talk to you, right? Again, one side is the stuff that happened already, that you're remembering something. The other side is that I'm making stuff up or theorizing something. Right? And kinesthetic, where you look down into your heart, right? You look down, right? You look down to the right or to the left. Again, one side is that something you already experienced. The other side is something that you are thinking about or thinking forward, right? By the way, that's how they tell if you're lying or not, right? So they ask you a couple of questions. What's your name? What's your address? Who's your mother? Who's your father? Those things your eyes will look one way, right? Because they're stuff you know. And then they'll start asking you other questions, see where your eyes look. If they look in the same direction, you're telling the truth. If you look in the other direction, watch out. Okay? That's a little trick, all right? We'll learn how to use it with your kids. All right. Other thing about yourself is your emotional intelligence. So what's emotional intelligence? So we've talked about, people have talked for a long time about IQ, about the natural intelligence people have and so on, right? But emotional intelligence is different. Emotional intelligence tells us how we use our self completely, how we use our head completely. And this is how do we react. So when we look at this axis here, we're talking about drive and motivation. And this is really, one side is looking for outcomes, the other is looking for beliefs. You know, am I focused on the beliefs or am I focused on the outcomes? And then the two opposite sides here is the thinking structure. Is there a controlled structure, or am I thinking about experimenting to find out things, right? So when I start looking at this, what happens is that, you know, people have different pieces of ideas about this. Either you're reflective, you're conceptual, you're organized, or you're empathetic. And here the differences are, if you are a person who emotionally, so let's say, I'll show you examples of these very soon. If a person talks to you and you don't empathize very quickly, you don't get this empathy with them, right? You're not using this part of your emotional intelligence, right? If you don't reflect on what they say, or reflect on the situation they're in, you're not using that portion of the emotional intelligence. You may be very organized and you want the detail down to the last point to understand things, or you want to be conceptual and understand the big concept of more than anything else. But the best way to be, most complete way to be, is to have a component in all of them and expand that as much as possible. Balance yourself as best as possible. However, each one of us tends to have a certain area where we're strong in and other areas where we're weak in. Okay? So again, this is the kind of things we would see between reflective, conceptual, empathetic, and organized. The different kinds of ways we behave, we work with, and so on. So a person who's empathetic likes the harmony, likes the spiritual side of things, where the person who's reflective wants the logic, problem-solving detail of that, right? Now, when you look at this, and I'll show you an example very soon, when you look at this and you find one side very lopsided, that person needs to kind of build up the other areas quickly, because they're really thinking only one. Their emotional intelligence is very low because it's very one-sided. You want to expand this as much as possible. Finally, there's something called the wealth flow. So what is wealth? Wealth, and this is another aspect of your personality that we can look at. What is wealth? Wealth is actually value that you bring times leverage. And what are we talking about here? What is the value? The value is the difference between two things. So you understand a potential energy, right? When you have something that's really at a very high level and it can roll down to a very low level, then this has a very big potential energy. So think of a river. The river starts very high in the mountains and goes down to the sea. The bigger the difference is there, that's a bigger value, right? So when you want to provide value, you want to provide a bigger potential difference for a person to perceive value in what you give them, right? And if you look at leverage, leverage is how deep your river is or how wide your river is. So leverage is how fast you can get this thing moving and flowing. Now, you can provide value, somebody else can provide the leverage. Now this is where I talked to you about the wealth flow here. This is a very interesting, so everything we've been talking about before has been 4 components, right? 4 levels, 4, DISC and so on. There's been 4, looking at 4. Here we're looking at 8 different aspects of a person. The top level here is called the innovation and the intuition. It's a person who thinks big picture, who wants to invent things, who likes to think, imagine this person flying at 50,000 feet in the air. They see the contours of the land, they see the mountains below them, they see the clouds, they see the rivers, they see the water, right? They just see the big picture. And they like to kind of say, if I would modify this a little bit this way, or if I modified this way, what would it look like? Okay? So that's a big picture person. The person down here deals more with timing, the tempo, the timing. And this person is down at the ground level, down at the detail level, between the mountains, across the river. That person may be standing for a while, and then all of a sudden maybe sprinting or running, or then stopping again, and then waiting for the let's say, a log to pass on the river, then jumping on that log and moving on, and then waiting again. That person is looking at the details and waiting and looking at timing. However, when we look across this way, we look here at a person who is an extrovert, and we call him a magnifier, a person that magnifies things. So it takes a piece of information and magnifies it with his personality or her personality, puts it out there with themselves, with who they are, right? That's how they make it in their lives, is they make the money through, making it only unique to them. However, if I go to the other side here, this person here wants to multiply things by creating a system out of everything and taking the person out of it completely. So he wants to have a system out of it, out of everything, so people can come in and do small transactions quickly over and over and over and over again to make the money from that. So the combination of these gives you the different kinds of personalities you are. You're either a creator, a star, a supporter, a deal maker, a trader, an accumulator, a lord, or a mechanic. Okay? So a person who's a creator is somebody like Steve Jobs or like Bill Gates. They like to invent things. They don't want the detail of making the thing. They just like the idea of being up there, inventing everything, thinking of the big picture, how can I do things. Bill Gates had a picture with him one time with a globe on top of his finger, right? And he says, the world at your fingertips, right? That was his motto for quite a while. With Steve Jobs, it just works, right? So it's these ideas, these creative ideas that are very much on top here. And then you get people like the traders here are the ones who are very good with enacting certain trades. I'm not sure who, I can give you an example here, but there's many people who like that. But on the side here of the trader is the accumulator, somebody who likes the detail, to get the detail and get systems in place, but also timing in place. A person like this is like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett times the market very well. When the internet bubble was bursting, was going up, he was out of the picture completely. And people said, what are you doing? How come you're not involved? He said, no, it's not the time yet. But once the bubble burst, then he came in and started accumulating the right things and getting the right assets and putting them in place. They don't like to deal with people, they just like to deal with timing and things like that, right? On the bottom here is a deal maker. A deal maker is a person who likes to deal with people and also timing. So somebody who's a creator will need a deal maker on their team, right? They need somebody who can actually put the deal together for them so they can actually sell their ideas. And they also may need a lord or an accumulator on their team because they need somebody who can put the ideas into practice and actually get them to become something worth it. All right? So, based on this, okay, so and then here, this corner here is a star. Somebody who takes a creative idea, and through the power of his or her personality, they magnify that idea. This is an Oprah Winfrey. Okay? She takes ideas from many different people, interviews them on stage with her, and she's the one who pushes it out. It's not her ideas, but she's the one who pushes it out. She's the one who represents. She does very well with this, obviously. She's a billionaire, right? Okay, she's very brilliant. Okay? So this is the wealth dynamic. And this is also another test we can take to know where we fall. It makes a big difference if we fall in a particular place. Then if let's say you're in real estate, you could be in any one of these. If you're real estate, you can be a landlord and just collect properties and work with them. You could be a trader. You could be actually the real estate agent and get the things going there. You could be a deal maker. You could be a star by driving people, become the person that drives people to the events so that they can come and actually buy the houses and so on. So you can be in any business. You can be almost any one of these. Depends on which part of the business you fall into. Okay, so this is a lot of fun to understand. Once you understand this, you stop struggling against yourself. You don't keep struggling against being a star. If you're a star, you don't struggle by trying to be an accumulator. You're not going to do it. By the way, I'm up here. I'm a star. That's why I'm doing this now. Okay. And I tried trading. I tried getting onto stock market and doing something with it. I failed miserably. Right. I always wait too long and I sell when it's too late. Okay. So I said I'm not going to do this anymore. I found somebody who's a trader. Said, here's my money. Make some money from it. Okay. But I will focus on my being a star. Right. So it's very, very important to focus on the right aspects of your personality, so you don't struggle against yourself. So even if you get into a job, you get the right job. You don't fall into a place where you're not going to be successful. So I gave you here 5 different personality tests here that we talked about. Each and every one of those 5 is valuable to you to learn who you are and how you behave and how you understand yourself. And once you start understanding them, you also understand others. You start understanding others. And that will help you dramatically in your life as you go forward. So let me just show you an example here of 2 people. These are clients of mine, right? It's a husband-wife team. And look at this. So this is her profile. This is his profile. Next few slides will show you this, right? So you can see that she is a very assertive and very persuasive person. She has these two points here. I'm not going to go into detail what's the difference between these, but this suffices to say these are her personality traits. Very persuasive and assertive, right? And look at him. He's very supportive and analytical. Completely the opposite from her. Completely the opposite. When they sit and talk, it's really interesting to watch him talk, because he wants a lot of details about everything. She says, this is a waste of time. I want to go get this done right now, right? And it's very, very interesting how they do this, right? So this is an example here. This is an example of their emotional intelligence. Now, the square in the middle is a balanced picture. Look at her. She has no reflection in anything. She wants immediate results. Doesn't really reflect on anything. And she's not that empathetic. She is conceptual and she is organized, right? Look at him. He's extremely reflective. He wants to analyze things to death until she says, give me a break. Let's forget about it, right? It doesn't work anymore. But he's also organized, so they kind of match each other here. And they kind of match each other in the empathy. They're not very empathetic, so they tend to be drier with people, both of them. They're not really that good with people, okay? And they both need they could develop, they're conceptual, but they could develop their conceptual a little bit more, right? Ideally, what you want is to have a rounded personality. So these things are all kind of balanced, and they're as big as possible, right? Of course, everybody has their own quirks, but that's okay. That's who we are. But we need to understand that. And if I understand I'm not a reflective person, right, in my business or in my life, I need to find somebody, a partner, somebody that will help me become reflective, because that will balance me out. As long as I understand that that person's working with me, we're working together on the same set of values, we're okay. But if I feel that other person is constantly combative with me, and I don't want to take their opinion about anything, then it's not going to work. A little bit more information here. Look at this. So this is the aesthetic. The green is the aesthetic. This is the economical. This is the individualistic. This is the political, altruistic, regulatory, and theoretical. So you can see they're pretty much both very political, right? So they like influence. They like to get in front and kind of get influence. But she is very altruistic, much more than he is. Therefore, she likes to help people a lot more than he does. And you can see that, right? Whereas he is highly theoretical and he wants the details and understand the theory of everything. She's not, right? And so you can see these are values, some of them which they share, some of them which they don't share. But because they share quite a few of the values, and they're kind of in the norm with each other, therefore they can get along even though their personalities are so completely opposite to each other. Right? Are you beginning to see the depth of what a person can be? How much difference they can be in each other? This one is very interesting. This is their wealth dynamic. He is an accumulator, and she is a star. And actually, this is a very good combination, right? Because they balance each other out. He can do the nitty-gritty detailed work, and she can be in front of people, shining in front of everybody, bringing people in and bringing people with. So that makes a big difference in who they are. Again, as long as you understand these differences between you and are willing to work to use the other person as a strength for you, then it's a very beneficial thing. But if you look at the other person as an antagonist to you, it's not going to work. Okay? So again, this is another thing that we want to look at. Okay, I want to jump to goals for a second, and we have a few things more to talk about here. So the goals. So there's something in our brain called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is what's in our head that allows us to notice things that we want to notice. So for instance, who bought a car recently? Anybody? Nobody? Who had a unique experience recently? Okay, let's go to buying a car. I think buying a car is very easy. So if you have a car, you go to the store, you want to buy a car, and you go to the dealer, and you say, I want a red Honda CR-V, right? So you get a pickup, you look at it, you put all the stuff that you want in it, you get in the car, and you drive out the door, right? As soon as you drive out the door, what do you see? What? Another Honda red CR-V. And you go down the street, you go park it in your home, and immediately another one comes across the street, right? You say, wait a minute, I didn't see them all before, how can I see them now? That's your reticular activating system. It's not that they weren't there, it's now because this is what you're paying attention to, you start seeing it left and right all over the place, okay? My experience has been with when my wife was pregnant with our 3 kids, a long time ago, actually, that's all I saw. I saw pregnant women every place. Every place I looked, there was a pregnant woman. I started noticing, saying, how come they're all pregnant at the same time? Right? But it's just what you notice, because this is what we call the reticular activating system. So when you want to look at your goals, you can't say, I want a red Porsche, right? You have to live it. You have to breathe it. You have to think it. You have to put it on your desktop. You have to talk about it. You have to go see the car. You have to drive the car. You have to feel it, because that will bring your mind to it. How do I get that car? And what you will find, when I bought my car, the car I drive today, right? I had a leased car, and I just finished the lease, and I was saying, it's about time I want a Mercedes. I really want to buy a Mercedes. It's been a long time since I had, my dad had a Mercedes a long time ago, and I really wanted to have a Mercedes, right? So I said, it's about time I look at a Mercedes. And I did. I started looking at them, and I saw the prices were just ridiculously high, right? So I started looking on Craigslist. Lo and behold, I find the car I want at a very good price. The guy was leaving the country, and it was a fire sale, and he gave it to me for very cheap. Because of this, because of the reticular activating system. You set the goal, you feel the goal, you breathe the goal, therefore it comes to you. It's not that it really comes to you, it's just that you start noticing things that affect your goal. Because they're around you all the time. For you to achieve your goals, the things that are around you all the time, they're always there. It's just that you never noticed it. So when you set your goal and you start breathing your goal, talking about your goal, doing your goal, you'll start seeing things fall into place in front of you that will attract the goal to you, that will let you fall into place with it. Okay? So in a very short while, I'm going to start offering you something that's very beneficial for you, but it's going to cost you some money. Okay? Part of setting a goal is to set a vision. You have to set a vision. You have to have a vision. And the vision is one of the key items that happens in your life. One of the things I do with my business clients is immediately when we sit down to actually start coaching them, the first thing I do with them is I do something we call an alignment. An alignment is basically we sit down, we talk about their vision, talk about what they want to accomplish in their lives, what their goals are in their lives. The vision is a very important thing. It's a driving factor with you, right? Now the vision, you can put a vision for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? But as you put the vision and you put the goals associated with the vision, what you will find is you will achieve your vision a lot faster. By the way, only 3% of the population ever writes their goals down on paper, and those 3% achieve their goals in their lives. The 97% that don't write any goals on paper and never follow up on their goals hardly achieve their goals. They just let life live through them, and they don't really do anything with their lives. Okay, so writing a goal down is a very, very key thing. And the younger you are, the more you should be thinking about this. The older you are, the more you should be thinking about this. Right? It's never too late to have a vision. It's never too late to have goals and go after your goals. Go after them with gusto. Really go after them. Okay? Look at this. Watch here what's happening. This guy's shooting the basket, right? He's not making it, right? But he's shooting. The reason I put this video up is this is something we watch every day in basketball games, right? Somebody stands up there and does this. What's happening before that? Before he actually takes the shot, what do they do? What do they actually do all the time? Does anybody remember? Before every free throw, they do something, right? They dribble. But every player does something different, if you notice. There's a ritual they follow through. One player will go boom, boom, boom 3 times and then do it. Another player will kind of play with the ball a little bit, boom, boom, and then do it, right? Another one will leave the ball alone, look at the basket and do something with his hands, then pick up the ball and do it. These are rituals, right? These are rituals people do. Why are they doing them? They're putting their mindset in a particular location, okay? This is something as achieving your goals, you have to be doing. Your daily start, as you get up in the morning, has to be a particular routine that you go through. You should put that routine in place. A routine that you can stick to. It's probably an easy routine, but it's something you can stick to day in and day out. Right? When you get to work and get on your desk or get on your computer, there has to be a particular routine that you go to. Why is this important? It sets the rest of your day up for you. Because you know these things you can accomplish, therefore I can do something with them. But if I don't have a routine, I will start falling off all over the place. Okay? And you'll find that, okay, today I'm starting this way, tomorrow I'm starting this way, next day I'm starting this way, and none of my days match each other, so I don't know, I cannot measure my day, I don't know where it's gone, and I don't know what I'm doing, right? But if you have a daily routine, a daily start, this becomes very key for you, right? So this is something you should develop in yourself, is this daily start. Again, I work with you to develop all that kind of stuff, right? Who influences you? Are you a follower? Are you a leader? Are you a peer? Do you have positive influence or do you have negative influence? Okay? You're always a follower, a peer, and a leader. You always are, right? In certain things you follow other people who've led. In other places you lead other people. In other places you are together with somebody else, following somebody or learning from somebody else. And that's fine. The question always comes is, are you in positive or negative territory? You can have positive peer pressure and you have negative peer pressure. You always want to look for the positive peer pressure. You want to always minimize the negative peer pressure. If the negative peer pressure is coming from members of family or friends that are closer to you, you need to evaluate your relationships and find ways to stem the negativity. Okay? If there are people around you who are not really close friends to you, but they're negatively influencing you, it's time you leave them. It's time you change your environment. This is the thing, this is the identity iceberg again, we'll go back to that. That's the part on the bottom where it's environment. It's really important to find the positive peer pressure, not the negative peer pressure. Absolutely all belief systems even talk about this, right? They talk about the positive peer pressure in your belief system. Same thing with your daily life and daily work. You always want to look for positive peer pressure, not negative peer pressure. Momentum. Boom. Okay. So we need to develop momentum as we go forward. And as you can see, momentum is something that grows slowly. Think of the merry-go-round that's in a children's playground, right? All the kids pile up, and they have one scrawny little kid, right, who has to run around and pushes, right? And the kid pushes and pushes and sweats and pushes and all of a sudden, it starts going and develops momentum. They jump on there, and the thing spins around, and very quickly, it doesn't need anything more, right? And all he needs, if it starts slowing down, he just gets down there, quick couple shoves, and it goes again, right? And that's what we want to have in our lives. We want to have momentum that really pushes us all the way. We want to have this burning momentum, right? Because once we have this and push ourselves very quickly, we don't have things that stop us, right? Or when things that come in our way, we can kind of scoot around them. We can keep the momentum going and get ourselves keep going very quickly. This is lifelong learning. This is developing habits that are very positive in our life to do this. And there are certain things we have to look at. Positive habits are very, very, very important in our lives. Okay. I promised you the definition of luck, right? So luck, usually we look at luck like this, right? A lucky charm of some sort, or good luck, four-leaf clover, okay? Or another look at it is it's labor under the correct knowledge, right? Well, we can look at it this way. Labor under correct knowledge is a good way to look at luck. But there's an even better way to look at it. So the definition of luck, people have always told you, the true definition of luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Opportunity comes, and you're prepared, so you jump in. Well, that's true, but that's not the full story. The full story is you also need the correct attitude, right? And you need the right action to take. So you have to have preparation. And what is the preparation? Preparation is you have to be constantly invested in your personal growth, right? Because life continues moving forward, things continue happening. And by the way, I want to tell you something. When you're younger, they teach you to develop skills, right? And you keep developing skills, hard skills, right? Learn how to program, learn how to get certified for something or particular anything, right? And you keep getting these skills and developing these skills. But as you get to a certain point in your career, in your life, you find that you just cannot accumulate these hard skills anymore. It just doesn't make sense anymore because there's so many of them, and your knowledge has opened up so much. There's no way to pick up skills in everything in your knowledge base. What you need to pick up at this point is the personal growth issues, the things that affect you in your heart, the things that affect your behavior. Those are much more valuable at the end. Leaders are all about personal growth. Right? Big leaders, industry leaders, leaders in any field, they're all about personal growth. So you have to have the constant personal growth, and the personal growth, you have to do some practice to get the personal growth going. The attitude is your mindset. You always have to have a positive mindset, because if you have a negative mindset, even if the situation is in front of you, manifests right in front of you, the opportunity is there, if you have a negative mindset, you'll say, nah, it's not going to work. And once you have this negative mindset, nothing works. So you have to have this, and the action that you take has to be positive and timely. It has to happen right away, and the right time, and just jump at it at the correct time. So this is the full formula, right? This is the full formula for luck. It's preparation, meeting opportunity, but having the right attitude and taking the action in a timely fashion. So it doesn't become luck anymore, does it? This is not luck anymore, right? This is a person who's ready. When life presents an opportunity, they know how to grab it. This is it. So the brain we have is a very marvelous instrument. It's a very powerful tool. And we should need to understand how to use that tool. So I want to draw your attention to two parts of the brain here. One part here called the amygdala, and the other one's called the cingulate. The amygdala is a couple of little nodules here in the base of the brain on the inside. The amygdala is the part of the brain that's responsible for your survival. How is it responsible for your survival? It is the part of the brain that does the fear, flight or fight action. And if you ever wondered why we're always attracted to bad news, we're constantly watching bad news and attracted to bad news, it's because this issue of fight or flight. It is the issue of survival. When something happens to us, when something is hitting us, coming at us, we assume first it's going to affect our survival. Then we evaluate and say, no, it's not going to affect our survival, so I'm okay. All right? So the amygdala is responsible for this. And if you can imagine yourself walking through a dark woods, right, and you hear a rustle of leaves, what comes to your mind? Maybe bear, mountain lion, right? Get ready to run, right? That's what comes to your mind, because that's survival. You don't say, oh, it's my brother catching up with me to walk with me. You don't say that, right? You don't say, oh, maybe it's a bird flying through the woods or something. No, you don't say that. You say, survival, a bear is coming, right? So that's this amygdala. In today's society, as we live, we have these constant stress factors being thrown at us all the time, and our amygdala is firing off and firing off and firing off and firing off. The more it fires off, the bigger it gets, okay? And the bigger it gets, the more automatic our response is. However, our responses are not appropriate anymore. So we have to do something about this, right? So the amygdala, the amygdala, we want to shrink the amygdala. And the way you shrink the amygdala is, in Eastern philosophies, Eastern philosophy will tell you to do what? Meditate. Observe your thoughts. We could do that, right? We could actually get outside ourselves and observe my behavior. And so when you start watching yourself getting angry or afraid, you say, oh, my brain is telling me I'm afraid. Well, that's interesting, I'm afraid. And if you start observing it that way, you don't act on the fear, but you observe the fear. What happens is, if you practice that a while, the amygdala shrinks. What grows is the cingulate. This cingulate actually is a portion of the brain that attaches the outside cortex to the inside portions of the brain. It's where all the nerves come through it. And the more you observe from the outside with your cortex and kind of observe the feelings welling up inside you, the bigger you make this cingulate. And the bigger you make the cingulate, the more you can choose your reaction. And the more you can choose your reaction, the more empathetic you are to other people. All of a sudden you can feel other people a lot better and understand other people a lot better. So this is what this gives you. So basically I wanted to bring this to you because I think that this is something that you would like to understand very, very much. So let me just kind of say to you, do you want to take action on this or not? Would you like to grow yourselves? Would you like to actually grow and drop this fear and move forward your lives, set your goals and start really doing something? Find out who you really are and let's start getting something done. Yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Are you willing to invest in yourself a little bit?
Yes.
Money. Okay. All right. So, if you want to do this, we need to talk about this a little bit and see what's possible here. So we need to have some balance in our lives. And the balance that we're talking about here is very interesting. It's a balance of a person understanding themselves, right? And usually a person's understanding themselves is very small. It's not very big. And the other thing is they spend time with building their goals to a certain extent, and they build their goals, and maybe they start making some choices. So what we find in our lives is that we make a lot of choices in our lives. We spend a little bit of time making goals, and understanding ourselves we don't really spend too much time with. So as we go through our lives, we may look like we are well behaved or well composed, right? And to the outside world, we look like we are we look like we are all balanced in our lives. But the reality is, we're not balanced. Things are not balanced in our lives. And you can see that in our internal lives, things are very unbalanced. But to the outside world, we look like we're balanced with our goals, with our understanding ourselves, with our goals, and with the actions that we take. But as we start applying the methods I'm going to teach you, what happens is we balance everything, right? So we balance our goals, we balance our actions, right? And we start understanding who we are. The better we understand who we are, the more we become a better person. And we can be able to do things, right? And this kind of things, when I apply this to my coaching with my customers, with my business coaching, they develop this. They start understanding this. They start understanding themselves much better, and they behave a lot better with a lot of things they do, right? So what they see is that they have a nice set of understanding who they are. They are well understood with their goals, and they are spending time, getting their work done, getting everything done the right way. And as things grow with them, what we see is they look very well balanced from the outside. They also look very well balanced on the inside. This is what we see. We see a good balanced person on the outside. On the inside, they're very, very balanced. As their life grows, as things move forward, their life changes. As their personality grows, they need to understand their personality a little bit better. And what happens is, what we see is their personality still needs to be developed a little bit more. And then we find that, they still have a lot of their development of their goals still need to go forward. And then they need to start to take more correct actions again, right? So life kind of goes in a circle that way all the time. And we need to kind of develop ourselves to see what's best for us to do. So this is the journey we're trying to go on, right? This is the journey we're trying to see, is how do we increase ourselves, how do we make ourselves better that way, and how do we balance ourselves in our lives between our understanding ourselves, getting to our goals, and then making the correct decisions, okay? And that's what I just told you. These are the keys that we need to work with, all right? So for these keys, are you ready to invest in yourself? Okay, this is what I'm going to offer you. Success is 99% attitude and 1% aptitude, right? So it's your attitude that makes a difference here in how we do everything, all right? So this is My Life, What's Next? It's a series of 8 seminars, 8 workshops. I'll give you tools at work. I'll give you transformational assignments, and we carry it over 4 months. So it's every 2 weeks we will have a class, right? We'll do it in a setting like this together, and we'll give you things to do, like the personality test to grow with you and so on, right? So the first one is Program Your Mind. It's $295. It's what's your mindset, how do you change it, how do you adjust your mindset, how do you make everything work. There's something called dissatisfaction formula I'd like to throw out at you when you get to that class. What is a dissatisfaction formula? How do I use it to motivate myself and change myself? How big is your why? How big is your vision? So that seminar by itself, an hour and a half, worth about $300 here. The next one is Who Are You? And here we go through a lot of the personality tests. Drop the personality test on you. We go through those. We understand who you are and how you behave and what makes you who you are. And that's a very valuable tool. People love this when they have it. So this is $295. The personality tests are valued at about $345 total. So this is what you see here. Then, where are you going? We'll talk about goals, setting goals, what's real, what's not real, how many goals should you have, where are the goals in your life, what kind of goals should you have. We'll talk about these, and we'll see how do you feel and hear the goals, how do you make the goals alive with you. Do you have a vision board? We'll talk about that too, and put that together. That's a $295 value. We'll also talk about the wealth formula, so you can find yourself in one of those 8 kind of people, where your best flow of wealth is. That's another $295 plus $97 for the test. You get an understanding of the wealth creation strategy for you. How do you create your wealth? How does it go? By the way, wealth is what is remaining with you after the money is gone. It's the ability to make the money again. It's the ability to be wealthy that way, okay? The next one is, what are you doing? We want to see about the choices that you're making in your life. What are good choices? What are bad choices? How do you make them? How do you eliminate the bad habits in your life? How do you start good habits in your life? We talk about these. And how do you start our day? Remember we talked about that. And how do you set your daily calendar? What happens in your daily calendar? The next one is who do you listen to? Who influences you? Another $295 seminar. Are you a peer, leader, or follower? What happens? Who do you talk to? Who should you be listening to? How do you cut negative influences out of your life? How do you bring positive influences back into your life? We talk about those too. On cruise control, we talk about long-term and short-term time scheduling. It's really important to schedule your time and put the values in your time. How to start the right way every day, building default calendars, and building momentum in your life and keeping that momentum going. And the last one here is fueling your dreams, $295, long-term education. How do I keep myself going? How do I write books? How do I influence? How do I do a lot of things like that, right? How do I get the last mile push? By the way, this one is very interesting because it talks about acceleration and how do you accelerate. And one of the best examples here I can tell you of is the Tour de France. What's his name? The guy that got disqualified.
Lance Armstrong.
Armstrong, right? Armstrong's most powerful thing was that at the last mile, the last section, when everybody was dying, he would put in the next piece of effort. And he would put in the next piece of effort. He would always put in the next piece of effort. And that's what made him different from everybody else compared to him. Okay? It's that mindset that I've got to push one more step, just one more step. Okay? So all this together is a value of $2,832 as a total. But for today, it is only $1,000 as a single payment or $300 a month, 4 months. So you save $200 if you pay it all at once. All right? That's your risk-free investment. That's what I'm offering you. This is what you would have. And I guarantee you, you come out of this, you're going to have a lot of tools at your hand. You're going to feel a completely different person. Just the personality profiles by themselves make a lot of difference in your life, completely. These are not just 1 or 2 pages. This is like each one of them is like about 30 pages or something. So it's a lot of information for you to digest. However, I'm willing to do something even better. If you, as a guarantee, I'll return your money after the second seminar. If you don't find benefit, I'll return your money. Okay, so you go through at least 2 seminars with me and see if that's benefit or not. If you find benefit, we continue. If you don't find benefit, you can say, I'm out, I'll give you back all your cash, all right? So I'm also going to give you a bonus value, $495, right? This is personal time with me to discuss your personality assessment profile. So as we do the personality assessment profiles in general, we'll talk about them in class as a whole, but if you want time with me, I'll give you time, I'll give you an hour to talk about your profile in detail, how it works. If you're a couple, we'll work together with this so you can understand how this works, how do you influence and work with each other very strongly. And I'll also offer you a personal hypnosis section, right? Ooh, right? I won't do this voodoo hypnosis, but I'll do the hypnosis that actually helps you kind of reprogram your mind in the right way. And so that total comes to $3,722. It's still available at $299 or $1,000 total. That's what I have to offer for you, and I'll tell you, sign up right now. If you're ready to sign up with me, please let me know. If you're not, please give me an evaluation. I'd like to see an evaluation of the seminar and tell me how you feel about this whole thing. Okay? Thank you very much for attending, and thank you very much for listening to me all this time. I hope you benefited from this. Can I get any kind of comments about the benefit, if you have any? No benefits? Come on, guys. Tell me something. What did you find valuable?
I found all of it valuable. Just a self-assessment. I tend to be a little more analytical at times, but so it'll be nice to figure out my behavioral patterns and get to the why behind it. So this was definitely enlightening. I can only imagine if this is a tip of the iceberg, what's underneath. I'm really curious.
All right, good. Excellent. Vivian, what do you think?
I have to digest it all, but it's interesting, like how you say whether the 2 people, they're similar in some things, they're different in some things, and they complement each other. But I guess differences can also, to get along with someone different than you, can help you grow and learn new things.
it actually helps a lot, because once you understand the person, you understand, if you're together, you already know that the other person's not out to hurt you. You already know their motivation is good for you. It's not a problem. It's just that, how do they behave? I need to understand how they behave, why they behave the way they behave. And once you start understanding that behavior, and you're okay with the behavior, what happens is you start building off each other. You start using the strength of that person's strength versus your strength. And then you can say, okay, this is your area, you deal with this is my area, I'll deal with this. And the couple then becomes very strong. By the way, in any company, you're supposed to have all 4 personality types. You're supposed to have the mix of these people. You're not supposed to have just one. Because it's no good if a company is all S's. All touchy-feely, I love to help you, I love to help you, I love to help you, and then what? Nothing's getting done. And you also cannot have everybody who's a high D who becomes, let's get it done, and all of a sudden, I care not about your feelings, I'm trampling over everybody. It doesn't work either. You have to have a balance of everything, and that's a good thing. And once especially in a marriage, understanding this becomes a very, very powerful thing, especially for the kids, when the kids are teenagers and growing. It becomes a big tool, big tool. It's really not that bad an investment for something like this. It's really very, very beneficial. I mean, I've done it for myself. I've done it for several of the people I've been dealing with and everything. And it's a valuable tool to understand. So you just know who you are. It's a big thing.
Just from this first introductory seminar, I've been thinking, as we've been going through this past hour, I've been thinking, because I'm currently on the MSA board at Berkeley, so I've been kind of thinking about how in these past couple of months, how I've been dealing with other people on board and how other people respond to different things, whether it's from me or whether it's from other people. So it's interesting to see the difference in personalities and just the difference in response from each person. People who would respond to me differently than they would respond to another person that's working with. So.
In any organization, understanding these personalities helps you understand who to put where, and who has a strength to be in what place. By the way, none of us, it's very hard to have a completely rounded personality that you can do everything all the time. You can consciously redirect yourself to one behavior. But if that behavior is not natural to you, it starts stressing you out. So you can do it for a short while, but you can't do it for a long time. You always will go back to your natural style. Okay. Pablo.
I seen how, for me, it was hard for me to socialize with people, or even to try to learn how I can work with people at work, or even when I'm at school, or even outside of work, my family and friends. And I kind of seen how it can help me out. I can do it with myself first, and then I can be able to learn how I can socialize and I can have certain type of friendships with other people as well. Especially in outreach that I'm involved in, because all the times I mainly have to talk and work with people that I'm not sure of and I haven't met yet. And so by me being able to do this, I've seen how I can be able to differentiate between those type of people, and I can know how I can help them as well. If I can speak to them more, or maybe if I can assist them with resources, or if I'm more of a type of researcher that I can assist in that way, or a facilitator. So, it was a lot happening in my head. I was just like, how can I get this? How can I be able to get it inside of me where I can be able to show it and I can prove to myself that I can move forward and not always be behind a wall, and figuring out how to function and how to deal with things.
One of the things I think that's very important here is, as I threw a lot of information at you, and I held back. There's a lot of time. There's much more a lot deeper than this, right? But I've thrown a lot of things at you, and I know I've confused you. I know a lot of the information confused because there's so much of it, right? But I want to tell you something, just so you understand. Confusion is a good thing. The reason confusion is a good thing is, if it's not confusing, it's already ordered in your mind. You already know and understand it, right? If it's confusing, it's brand new information, and you're trying to kind of sort it in your head. How does it fit? How does it fit? How does it fit? How does it fit? And sometimes it doesn't fit quite right. It's like you have a room and you have something like, you know, the toys we give the kids, the round pegs and the square holes and things like that to try to fit them. It doesn't look like it fits. The information I give you doesn't look like it fits anyplace, right? But that's the beauty of it. I've thrown a lot of pictures of the brain at you, and I did this on purpose because the brain is very plastic, and plastic means that if you give it stimulus, it will change and hold its position with that new stimulus. The brain is constantly adding new interactions in itself and adding new synapses and connecting with itself. And so when a confusion is coming, it means you're learning. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, you just have to let it happen. Just accept that, just like when I was a child, I was getting a lot of stuff coming at me, and until I understood how everything is, it's okay, there's a lot of stuff coming at me, let me at least kind of simmer inside this information and see how I can put it to order. And after a while, you'll find that your brain has grown, it'll fit it, and it'll start growing with you in a very good way. Talk about your input.
No, all of this is incredibly interesting. I think specifically to me at a personal level is that when you don't live a traditional life in the sense of like a 9 to 5, when you're trying to build a business or do something a little different, I struggle in creating a structure for myself where I'm achieving my optimal like performance level and doing things where I'm not taxing myself or exhausting myself and not being as productive as I'd like to be. But what I find probably the most interesting is the wealth flow and the idea of pinpointing your values so that you don't waste your energy in things that you are not, that don't come natural to you. Finding what comes natural to you and what you're best at so that you can put your energy into that and be productive and effective. And again, so that's probably the thing that drew me the most about everything.
Actually, with the wealth flow, just to kind of build up on what you said here a second, with the wealth flow, the best way to exemplify it is to think of a surfer. A surfer, when the wave is low, what do? They just lie on the board and they just breathe, and just gather their strength. Once the wave starts building up, they paddle like crazy. And once the wave gets bigger, they keep paddling harder and harder and harder and harder. And this is exactly what the wealth flow is. Where whenever it's your peak, you have to put everything you got into it, because as we know, the rising tide raises all ships. But if you are not maximizing your rise at the time, if the rising tides raises everybody 3, you'll just rise 3 with everybody else. But if it's your tide and you put all the effort into it, instead of going 3, you're going to go 10, because you're going to make a big difference, because that's your flow, that's your power. So that's when you have to really skyrocket, and it makes a big difference, and it really makes a lot of difference. It does. Very good. Sister, I don't know your name.
Hi.
Yes. So what do you think?
I evaluate my behavior and emotional and understanding and other.
Good. 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 Okay. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the time that you took to listen to me and to hear me. And I know a lot of you have listened to me talk before, but in different circumstances and other things. But I'm actually putting this forward because I feel, I know this has benefited me greatly, and I really would like to help people, influence people and make things better for them that way through these classes that I offer. And it is an investment. It's an investment that has value that really returns to you very quickly and very powerfully. Just to know this information about yourself makes a big difference.